Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 161. I'm your host, Justin Bruni, but I got Emron Khan and Nick Davis with us this Sunday morning. Happy Sunday, gentlemen. How are we doing?
What's up, guys?
So, now everybody doing good.
Good. Glad to hear it. You guys got any big plans for Sunday or for the upcoming week?
Fixing a blind because Jinx just got scared and knocked one down. But
breaking news.
Breaking news, exactly. And then going to the pool for Allie's birthday. Had to do like an early birthday because his birthday falls in the middle of the week. So we had to do something on the weekend. So that's happening today.
Cool. Happy birthday to Nick's girlfriend, Allie.
Yeah,
how about you, Emron?
No, just chilling, guys. Got a busy week ahead, trying to recharge the batteries a little bit, relax, and get to it.
Yeah, same thing here. Just gonna be hanging out, maybe catching some sun. I've been inside like all day, every day, all week long. So might get a little bit of a tan, get some color on the skin. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's just jump right into it here. We got a lot to go over. We're just going to be going over some recent news, doing some news or snooze, and maybe if we have time, we'll close it out with some of our favorite Week 1 bets, some opening lines for Week 1 in the NFL. Training camp's coming up here. We're getting close. First up, we got the Dallas Cowboys. First off, Dallas Cowboys are getting on Hard Knocks. Are you guys excited? More excited for Hard Knocks or Ted Lasso?
It's just going to be a good storyline with Dak coming back. Like, they're kind of capitalizing. Like, they should have had, honestly, Washington football team on last year with Alex Smith and all that jazz. But I'm not concerned right now, to be completely honest. Like, if I start seeing things during those Hard Knock episodes, and I'm like, man, like, what the frick is going on here? Like, it's like Zeke isn't looking good, even though he's been looking really fast in those cone drills. Then I'd be a little bit concerned. So I'm not worried right now. Teams go through Hard Knocks all the time.
Yeah, should be fun. I'm excited for it. I was just wondering if you guys, were planning on watching this year. I know, Nick, you're not a big tuner in of the Hard Knocks, but I know they got your boy Zeke, they got your boy Tony Pollard, and I'm just wondering maybe it might be a little bit more invested this year.
I probably will, to be completely honest. I probably will. So I probably will tune in. I really don't like Hard Knocks because I wish it was like during the entire season. Hard Knocks is only during training camp, and training camp, like, there's storylines that happen, but a lot of these people won't even matter in week 17 or 16. You know what I'm saying? So I wish it was during the entire season. That's why I haven't tuned in, but I probably will tune in this year.
Sounds good. How about you, Imran?
Yeah, I think Dallas is a good choice. Whatever you say about the Cowboys, right? They bring in ratings. They have a huge following, no matter how annoying they can be. So I'm looking forward to that. Dak coming back, like Nick mentioned, Zeke, some of the defensive additions they made in the draft. They're going to be interested to see how they pan out, right? You got little storylines behind the Zeke, like behind the scenes. How does Tony Pollard? How is he stepping up? How's a guy like Michael Gallup, right? Who's like the third option on the team? How's he coming along? Last year of his contract, right? He's probably not going to be in Dallas anymore. He's a very talented receiver. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm as well. Maybe a little bit more excited for Ted Lasso, but we'll see. Proofs in the pudding. All right, but first up, we've got Amari Cooper. They're saying that he's cutting it close to starting training camp 100%. I've already kind of seen a slip in his ADP. We're typically used to seeing Amari Cooper go kind of like the end of the fourth round, and then CeeDee Lamb gets popped in the early fifth. But in our latest mock draft, Lamb actually went ahead of Amari Cooper at 410, and Amari went at 501. If you're seeing maybe something in Hard Knocks or reading a little bit more of the news about him not being 100%, are you going to kind of back off of either of them or prioritize Lamb over Cooper?
It's hard to know when someone's being silent. I mean, Amari Cooper literally does not speak, and he is one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Even with 4 wide receivers, he still had a career year last year. I'm not worried about it with Dak coming back. I feel like he just needs to kind of get a couple weeks of warm up to kind of ramp up to actually full speed. But having CeeDee, having Amari, having Mikol Cooper, if Dak doesn't throw for 7,000 yards, I'm gonna be surprised. Like, I know it sounds like a huge number, but that offense is meant to pass the ball. So I think that people are just kind of letting Amari fall into their blind spot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a transition when I was thinking about this when we were getting prepping for the show of what we saw in Atlanta over the last couple of years to a smaller degree, because I think Julio's much better than Amari. But you have that young receiver that the team drafted fairly high, right? He's slowly coming into his own. CeeDee Lamb had a really solid rookie year, right, for only having Dak for less than half the season, almost 1,000 yards, 7 total touchdowns. So I think he's going to take another big step. Most rookie receivers in year 2 are much better. So I think personally I would probably prioritize Lamb because I think he's a bigger play threat than Cooper is. Cooper's a solid guy. He's getting a little bit up there in age. So I think this injury for Cooper I definitely would monitor. And that might be a benefit of them being on Hard Knocks. You might get a little bit more information. You might not. But I think closer to the draft, in my opinion, I would probably prioritize Lamb more.
I got you. I'm still going to be prioritizing Amari Cooper. I've got him in a few spots already, and in some dynasty drafts. Obviously, Lamb holds a little bit more value, but Cooper's my wide receiver 14, so I have him in pretty high regard. Lamb's still at wide receiver 23 for me, so there's still a little bit of separation there, and I just feel like Amari is still like that true number one on the team. Should still easily be able to go for over 1,200 yards this year with an extra game. Obviously, Nick alluded to the high octane offense. Dak maybe throwing 7,000 yards. I don't know about all that, but no matter how many he throws, I know Amari's going to have a huge share of it. So if anything, I love this type of news. Let Amari slip, a handful of picks or selections back in your draft, and maybe you get him for even a little bit better value. So Lamb, Gallup, a lot to be excited about. But at the end of the day, I still want to go after that number one, the guy that's been doing it more consistently. So I'm going to go after Amari Cooper on that one. And then again, that's in redraft and dynasty. Lamb, obviously you probably flip that value. You put him at like 14 through 16, and you're putting, Amari somewhere like 20 to 23 because of the age difference, right? All right, cool. Let's move on. We're looking at the Buffalo Bills. We got some positive coach talk for Devin Singletary, saying he looks stronger, feeling faster in minicamp. Zach Moss still dealing with an ankle injury, and we also have a little bit of news that Matt Breida could be on the cutting board for the first stage of cuts out of Buffalo. Does any of this combination of news or information give you a little bit more love for Devin Singletary, who's really going really, really cheap? He's going in like the 12th to 14th rounds of redraft leagues. Or where are you guys at with Singletary right now, or this backfield in general?
Snooze. I'm done with Buffalo's backfield. I was very disappointed in like Singletary and Zach Moss as like a combination. I feel like if they had a really solid running game, that team would have been pretty much unstoppable last year. They had the magic stuff. Matt Breida, I mean, we all know from last year how hyped he was going into Miami, and then he did absolutely nothing. So it's all snooze to me. Coach talk, it's just lip service, man. They're really just every single time that they talk about somebody, it seems like they do the complete opposite of what they're saying. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna get Singletary the ball, and then you see Stephon Diggs get 150 receptions. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of just throwing smoke screens just to confuse everybody. Have defenses focus on Singletary so that their passing game opens up. For me right now, snooze. I'm just snoozing on everything in Buffalo backfield wise.
Yeah, same for me. I think the ADP for Singletary, that 12 to 14 in redraft leagues, I think is about accurate. If they had thought so highly of him, I don't think they would have invested another pick in Zach Moss last year. So I think him and Moss, it's going to be a committee. It's really hard to figure out who's going to take over. I don't really see Singletary making a really big impact because I think we just finished talking about Dallas, but I think Buffalo's another offense. It's pass heavy, right? And then also you have to remember with them, you could argue their best running back is Josh Allen. That's their biggest running threat, right? He's going to take away carries too. So, I may take a flyer out of him at the end of the draft. Just, you never know. 1 week or 2 weeks, he might be valuable for you if somebody gets hurt, but I don't really have high expectations for him.
Yeah, absolutely. In this situation, if I'm hungry for a running back late in the draft, I'll honestly take a look at either one of them because you have to like the offense, right?
Fair.
Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, they added Emmanuel Sanders. A lot of people are in on Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis. There's a lot to like here, so I'd assume that we want one of them at some point, or at least someone's going to be able to get some production out of them. But I do feel like these guys are just, 3-4 week stretches at best, where you're getting that production that is you're hungry for in fantasy. You're feeling comfortable throwing them in your flex. Zach Moss going at 12.05, Devin Singletary going at 12.11. So really not that much of a difference there. And same in my rankings. I have Zach Moss at running back 40, Singletary at running back 44. So really splitting hairs here. I still like Devin Singletary a little bit more just because of some PPR production. Obviously, we're consistently playing in PPR leagues, so I think that holds a little bit more value for him. But with Zach Moss getting drafted last year, obviously they looked to prioritize the position. But I thought for sure they'd sign somebody in the offseason, and just nothing came of it. So I actually took Devin Singletary at 13.03 in my Scott Fishbowl draft. So I didn't hate that value there for what was left on the board, and I went really wide receiver heavy. So I was interested in getting a fair amount of reserves. Like I got some Devin Singletary, I got like some Tevin Coleman, some JD McKissick,
Nice.
Guys that just can fill in on some bye weeks, and I'm not going to be losing sleep over him. I think at that time he was drafted as my 4th running back, on my team. So if you're drafting Singletary or Moss, that's really all that you want to make sure is you got 3 or 4 guys ahead of them. That's all. And I think that you can feel good stashing either one of them on your bench because the offense is going to be good. I really feel that way. Anything to add there before we move on?
Nope, I think we covered it.
They stink. That's all I want to add. They stink. Until they show me more, I'm not going into Buffalo. Like I went against the grain here of what I always say is stay away from New England. I took Damian Harris in our dynasty, but I did not definitely look for any Buffalo running backs. So until they show me more, until they become a little bit more of a threat, I'm not worried about them. It's all passing in Buffalo.
I feel you. All right, next up, we've got the Oakland Raiders. Got a couple of tidbits out of there for Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. Looks like Bryan Edwards is going to start week 1 in three wide receiver sets with Henry Ruggs and John Brown. Really quick. Oh, and they also mentioned that Henry Ruggs is just going to get a lot of targets. What that means, I have no idea. He had 43 targets last year. So I'll start with this. Over under 100 targets for Henry Ruggs in 2021.
Under.
I'm going to say over because 100 target, that's really not a lot, right? Just the targets in 17 games, it's really not a lot. And he was the first receiver drafted last year. Like, they have to feature him more. Like, it's just criminal because I think he's got some talent, man. I think he can do a lot. But 100, that averages out to what, like 7 a game or something like that, I think, maybe less. 6.5, 7. That's not a lot for targets, and that's somebody that you definitely got to have step up. Bryan Edwards, I remember last year, he's getting a lot of hype going into the season where everybody's focused on Henry Ruggs. Bryan Edwards is going to sneak in and be a solid play. Spoiler alert, he was not. So I think Ruggs, I definitely could see more production there just with the more higher volume because they invested so much in him. But I don't feel great about it. It's just one of those things that's right. Like it has to happen, right? It can't really go worse.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the under though, because of the emergence of Edwards. We're also getting Kenyon Drake. We're getting John Brown coming in here. Willie Snead, very sneaky little piece that they've added as well.
Right.
I don't know. Darren Waller is the target hog for me. He had 145 last year. That's 102 targets more than Henry Ruggs. 102 more. Obviously, Ruggs was hurt for a little bit there to start the season. But regardless, I don't know if he's necessarily that guy that's just going to stretch the field. I don't see him as a target hog in Henry Ruggs. So I'm gonna go with the under there. And then a quick ADP battle. Ruggs is going anywhere from rounds like 9 through 11. Edwards anywhere from 18, 19 plus. In the last mock, he went 21.02. And then John Brown in that mix. Like where do you guys, or John Brown going anywhere from 11 to like 13? Where are you prioritizing, or are you just avoiding this wide receiver group?
I'm kind of avoiding it. I'm not impressed with how the play calling kind of tried to incorporate Ruggs. Like Las Vegas Raiders throughout their history love speed. That's Al Davis's thing that he transferred that to his son. They love speed. But the thing is they hardly know how to use it. Their best receivers are like Tim Brown and Jerry Rice, Fred Biletnikoff. Like throughout their history, it's the route runners that actually have made the most success. Hunter Renfrow. He is a target hog. I would give him a target hog. But Bryan Edwards, do you remember the hype that it was last year, man? Like, we were all like, dude, this guy's about to take off. We thought Ruggs was going to take off. And really, it didn't work out that way. Waller came up, and now they have Kenyon Drake. So For me, I feel like they're going to be focusing a little bit more on the rushing attack and Waller, and I think the wide receivers are going to be a peripheral part of their offense. So that's how I feel. I'm just avoiding most of them except like Hunter Renfrow because he's definitely going to get some receptions. I mean, he gets like 75 receptions a year, and he's pretty sure-handed. So that's really the only guy that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think for me, I think this offense has a lot of potential, but I think I might take a shot on Ruggs because I love his talent late. But again, similar to like the thing with Singletary, it's just I'm hoping for something. I'm not really expecting something. I wouldn't prioritize it. If I don't get one of those receivers in my draft, I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, I'm going to split the difference between the three. I'm going to go with John Brown anywhere from like rounds 12 to 14 because I feel like that's a pretty reliable space. And I feel like, if anyone's the candidate to kind of take over the Nelson Aguilar role, or at least it touches, it's probably John Brown. I mean, you have two really young receivers in Ruggs and Edwards still. They're coming into their sophomore seasons. I think Brown is just going to have a very reliable diet of touches and targets. Sprinkled in obviously with some Hunter Renfrow, like Nick mentioned, maybe even some Willie Snead, like I brought up. So I'm just going to go with something that I trust a little bit more in a John Brown. I don't feel like the cost is too expensive, and at the same time, I don't think I'm too cheap on it. And really, just the real estate where Henry Ruggs is going in like that 9th or 10th round. In the last mock I did, he was at pick, what was it, 9? No, it was round 10, 10-2. The players that he went around, I just like a lot of these guys more. Like Devontae Parker went a handful of picks after him. Michael Gallup a couple of picks after. Dallas Goedert right before him. So I just really like some of the other pieces there. Kenyon Drake went in the same round. We'll kind of get to some ADP talk with him here pretty soon up against Josh Jacobs. But I just like some of these other pieces that are there. The way that I have these guys broken down, I've got Ruggs at wide receiver 61, Brown just ahead at wide receiver 58, and Edwards, pretty backed up at wide receiver 94. I don't think that's really that different than most rankings that you're seeing out there. For Edwards, I feel like he still has a lot to prove. I guess the same could be said for Ruggs as well, but at least he had some production last year. He was on the field. He got a little bit more experience, but I feel like Edwards still does have a lot to prove. He's just kind of has that training camp hype that's still, in my opinion, just carrying over from last year. So, all right, next up we've got Chase Edmunds versus John Connor ADP battle. Essentially, Edmunds is getting a fair amount of talk in the media that he's going to be the feature guy there. I just don't agree. I don't think that either of them will be feature. I think this is going to be a true committee. Do you guys have a preference between the two? And when are you comfortable taking Edmunds if you are going to grab him?
Where is he going?
We're about round 7.
I did a 0 RB strategy. So I had Mike Davis, I think like round 10 or 11. So for me, that's a little high for how their offense really is built. There's a lot of receivers. And I think that Chase Edmunds is going to be like the feature scat back and Connors is going to be the goal line, but they rather pass the ball.
Yeah, I like to look at trends and how people's careers are going. Connor, when he broke onto the scene filling in for Le'Veon Bell, he had an awesome year, right? And he had 13, 14 touchdowns total. Then ever since then, he's kind of been trending the wrong way. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field. You're not getting any explosive plays out of him. Edmunds, on the other hand, in the limited opportunity he has gotten, his rushing yards, his receiving yards have all gone up the last couple of years. He had 50 catches last year. So I wouldn't mind taking Edmunds. I think he's a more talented player. And like Nick mentioned, that is a passing offense, and I think he adds a nice element to that team with that. So if we're in a redraft league, I think 7, I think it's slightly high for me because he is in a committee. He's not getting those dedicated targets and touches every game. You're kind of hoping for projection there. So I'd probably value him personally probably after round 10 because he is in a committee, but I like the upside, but I think 7 is rich for me.
Yeah, 7 is really expensive for me. And I have him at about running back 26 and Connor at running back 39. So Connor, I feel like you can still get it about 3 or 4 rounds later. And I feel like people are just, there might be too many people willing to take a risk on Edmunds. Go ahead. That's all you guys. I don't want to be trying to take, heavy risks in round 7, especially in like 2 quarterback leagues. I could be either getting like my second or even my third quarterback if I choose to, throw the position off the shelf, if I really want to get aggressive with it. So I think round 7 is a little bit too rich. And this is coming from a 2 quarterback mock. I took Connor in 11:03 in the Scott Fishbowl draft, and a recent mock he went in round 10. I really just took it for like goal line assurance. Again, I really settled in with like Alvin Kamara and James Robinson as my top 2 guys, and that's just the way it's going to stay. And then I'll probably round out my flex positions with receivers because I have a lot of really good receivers. So I don't really feel that bad about it. I'm not really big on this backfield in general because I do feel like it's going to be a true committee. Edmunds does have more of that scat back appeal, that curb appeal, like Nick alluded to. He hasn't rushed for over 100 times in a single season ever, Chase Edmunds. So, there is still some new territory to be discovered here with him if he is going to be a featured back. Obviously, he has to have at least like 150 to 200 carries for us to say he's the featured guy. I mean, are you just a featured guy just because you have, 80 more touches? With 80 more touches, James Conner could potentially still finish with more fantasy points if he really is that true red zone guy. So I took Conner just kind of on a whim. I think I told you guys a handful of weeks back that I was going to stay away from the backfield. I was a little intrigued for the value that I got him at for where he was sitting. So I'll take a dollar holler on him in round 11, back end of the draft, or at least the start of the back end of the draft. Do you guys think they add anybody? I got Mark Ingram here. Looks like he might be looking for a new home. Houston talking about potentially just straight up cutting him. You're out as soon as you came in. I know they have a loaded backfield up there, but do you have any preferred landing spots for Mark Ingram guys? And just really quick on top of that, who would you rather have, Mark Ingram or Todd Gurley?
Oh man, what a question. I'm going to say Mark Ingram because I don't know what the hell is going on with Todd Gurley's knee. Like he gets these contracts, and as soon as he's there, they don't play him, and they're like, "Oh, he's got some knee problems." I'm like, "Then why'd you give him the freaking money? Don't we do physicals around here? Like, what is going on here?" Yeah, like what is going on here? Mark Ingram, I feel like he's a great leader. I mean, he kind of like believed in Lamar Jackson and it really helped him, get where he needed to be. Big trust. But I'm gonna say Mark Ingram. I really have no preferred landing spot. I just hope he lands somewhere that he can either inspire someone to go for greatness or be a good goal line option because I think he still has that ability. So.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd probably agree with Nick. I have to lean towards Mark Ingram, and it's really a rough choice you got here, right? Like, who do you go with? My thing is, I don't have a preferred landing spot yet. I feel like he'd latch on with a team that suffers an injury, maybe in training camp or earlier in the year. He had some depth, right? And I think that's where he might add some value. The crazy thing with Todd Gurley is I feel like he's been in the NFL for 40 years, and the guy's like only like 25, 26, right? And that's a damn shame because when he was coming in the league, he was such an electric player at Georgia, and he had a really good couple of years with the Rams, but his injuries have killed him. So, age and upside and talent-wise, like he should be in the prime right now. He should be a top 5 back, but the injuries have really taken a toll on him. So I don't know where he would go, honestly. So I think between the two, I think Ingram, he's healthier. He's a little bit older, but I think he would latch on with a team that suffers a running back injury.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of teams I could see him landing on. I like Atlanta. I think they could use some help at running back. Buffalo and Arizona.
No, Mike Davis is the man. Mike Davis is the man.
He's your man. We'll
see
for how much longer.
Davis power.
Yeah, we'll see for how much longer. So I like ATL, Arizona, Buffalo. What do you guys think about just let's just go back to Baltimore? I know they cut him, but I mean, just go back to Baltimore.
Why not? They run the ball more than any other team in the NFL. I mean, you got to have bodies. So I think he would enjoy coming back there. He's kind of in that spot now where he's not going to get that big contract, but if someone like he's going to fall into that Frank Gore mold, contract wise, like he's just going to kind of bounce around until his body literally can't take it. But I think he's still going to provide a little bit of production, better than production of like other guys would. So that's how I feel about Ingram.
I do have him over Todd Gurley for sure. If I'm a team that needs a running back right now, I'm looking at Mark Ingram. The last 2 that I had was another potential reunion, maybe in New Orleans, or maybe you just chase the ring and you go to KC. Why not?
The NBA showed it's possible to chase rings. So the NFL is kind of going to start doing the same thing. I really don't like that, to be completely honest, because a lot of times these guys don't fit into the offense that they're going to. They're literally just sitting on the bench. LaShawn McCoy won back-to-back rings and did not play a single snap. So just saying, like that, if I was a player and got those kinds of rings, I kind of wouldn't like see it as like me winning it. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be part of something to actually win it. I don't know.
Yeah, once you get up there in age, though, I mean, you can only do so much for whatever team is going to bring you on. So I like KC probably the most. Also Atlanta, just because the need is there. Next up, we've got Mikol Hardman. Looks like he is set for wide receiver 2 duty in Kansas City. Everyone's saying that he is taking over the Sammy Watkins role. Right now, he's going around rounds like 11, 12, 13. Where are you guys at with him? He's my wide receiver 67. He's not in the highest regard for me.
Mikol Hardman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like him. I mean, I think he's a young cat that kind of needs to like settle down a little bit. Like he's so fast and he's always thinking like so many steps ahead that he does have some weird drops and loses some opportunity there. But if he can hone in and really get his mind right, I think he can be a legitimate a number 2. Like I think he could be in the ilk of Michael Gallup. Like Michael Gallup gets shitted on a lot, but I still think he's one of the best number 2 receivers in the league. So I think Mikol Hardman can definitely do that. He's Tyreek Hill light, and that's kind of how I see him.
Yeah, so for me, like Mikol Hardman is entering year 3 of the NFL, right? And there's no Sammy Watkins. He's the 3rd option on this team. I think he should be viable. This is a high power offense. They leverage his skill set really well. They use his speed. Andy Reid gets him in a good position. He's really just got to take that next step. So I think, Justin, you said you had him ranked as a wide receiver, 60-something?
Yeah, 67.
I mean, I think that's pretty accurate based on what he's done in his role in the team. Like that's a team again that throws the ball a lot, so opportunities are going to be bountiful for him. He just has to do something with them, and it's year 3 in the NFL, year 3 in the same offense with the same quarterback. Right, this should be a year where he steps up. So he's somebody I may grab late in the draft because he's a piece of that offense, right? And I think he can do a lot of stuff, returns, end arounds. But he's got to have a big year. Otherwise, he's just going to be looked at a guy as that is like a very, very poor man's Deshaun Jackson. Occasionally, you throw him a bomb every now and then, and that's all he's good for.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to pass for round 11. I kind of like what I can get just on other teams, whether it's the wide receiver position, depth at another. In round 11, he went He went right before Marvin Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Rashad Bateman. In the same round, you saw guys like Tariq Cohen and Rashad Penny. So running back was pretty gone. Ronald Jones and Mike Williams went a pick right before him. But honestly, in this territory, if I'm targeting a wide receiver, I want guys like John Brown, who I already mentioned, Darnell Mooney, who I just recently wrote an article on, who I'm really high on. Sterling Shepard, a guy that's just falling down draft boards. People are completely forgetting about him. I really just don't love him in that space because, honestly, I see him as more of a handcuff to the production of Tyreek Hill and Kelsey if they were to get hurt. I feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to take a step forward this year. He'll get a handful of touches. And you still have some good competition stirring up behind him in guys like Byron Pringle. They brought on very quietly Antonio Callaway. I don't know where he came from, but he's on this roster right now. They've got guys like Garrett Dieter that they're kind of high on internally, but doesn't really flash on the field. So I just still feel like there's a lot of competition behind him. And I feel like the door is still open for them to bring in like a vet or make a move, someone that gets cut. Might even see like Larry Fitzgerald sign there. He's not, clearly retired yet. If he decides that he wants to go in there and steal, 40 or 50 targets from, DeMarcus Robinson too. I didn't even bring him up. I just feel like there may not be the production that everyone's looking for. And if you look at the Sammy Watkins role, you're looking at 55, 90, 55 targets in the past 3 seasons. Like it's really not that appetizing. I'd rather take the upside of guys like, Marvin Jones in a new spot, John Brown, or even Nelson Aguilar went around later, who's with the Patriots now. Darnell Mooney, who I mentioned, who I feel is going to be contending for wide receiver position or wide receiver 2 position in fantasy football. So I just like a lot of the other real estate that's going around him in drafts right now. So I'm gonna pass. In the recent mock, he went 1103 in my Scott Fishbowl division. He went in 1311. I think that's a little bit better value. If you're getting into like that 13, 14, 15th round, I think that's not too bad. In that same space, the receivers I'm looking at are like Brashad Perriman, Alan Lazard, Darius Slayton, Christian Kirk, Paris Campbell. I might like Paris Campbell more, to be honest. I'm not sure yet, but I feel like that space is a little bit more inviting for me to go chase after Mecole. Do you guys want to add anything there?
I got a quick question that kind of diverts from the subject. But when you said Paris Campbell, it just reminded me. What do you guys think about Wentz in Indianapolis? Because I've seen a lot of people that are like, "Oh my God, he's the truth," and I'm like, guys, like I feel like he loses his voice very quickly in the locker room. Like people get really tired of him. You could see the effort, but you also saw how no one else really like cared in Philadelphia. I mean, it might be a new situation, but I just don't see him like really making that team much better than Philip Rivers did last year. Do you guys see the same thing?
I think he's going to be better than Philip Rivers. Am I drafting him? Am I prioritizing him in my draft? That's if he falls to me, like if he's my third quarterback in a 2-quarterback league,
that's not bad.
Good. I feel really good. Like I'm like, all right, yeah, this is my bench guy. This is my bye week guy. I don't feel bad about that. If he's my second guy, I'm a little nervous.
If he's your first guy, you got issues.
I'm really concerned. Yeah, like I did something wrong. I did something wrong if Carson Wentz is my first quarterback this year.
Okay.
I don't think people are going to be prioritizing him, so I think that you can get him at value. There's a much better run game in Indianapolis. There's a much better offensive line. The receivers, I'd say, are kind of a wash, really. Maybe they go out and get Zach Ertz. I don't know, but if they add another target or another body there, you might be feeling a little bit better about that. If he had Zach Ertz, would you be feeling better, Nick?
Well, it's not his weapon. It doesn't matter. I don't like the quarterback. Like, I just feel like he has great weapons, but we're going to be looking at him, except Jonathan Taylor. We're going to be looking at the receivers and tight ends and be like, man, like, I feel like that there was a lot more that they could do. And, maybe if Wentz did this or did that, I feel like there's going to be a lot of that this year. But I don't know. I've just been seeing a lot of Wentz like hype, and I'm like, guys, like, did we all see like what happened in Philadelphia? Like, it didn't really go too well the last year. He did have that crazy.
It's a completely
MVP.
different situation though. Like Peterson's out of Philly. Like obviously the whole scenario there was pretty bad, right? Like there was you had issues with like Goddard versus Ertz. The quarterback 1 versus quarterback 2 with Hurts and Wentz. Miles Sanders wasn't getting it going. You had questions at receiver. You had Travis Fulgham going off and then becoming nothing but silent. Pretty much buried in the second half of the year. So I don't know. I feel like the situation is going to be better for him. I think he'll be better than Rivers. But again, it's not like a situation where I'm like, oh, this is out of this world. Let me go grab him right away. Do you have anything to add there, Emron?
No, I think for Carson Wentz, I mean, he's going to do not a new offense, right? He's worked with Frank Wright before. That's when he had the best moments of his career. The offensive supporting cast for him, minus the running backs and the O-line, I don't really like for his skill set because I don't think he elevates people. He needs that help around him already. He's not going to make anyone better. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman should have a better year. I just feel like at this point, like when you guys mentioned the Zach Ertz thing, I was like, wait a minute, he's not already on Indy? Like, when is this trade going to be finalized, right? Like, what are we waiting for? Like, I feel like we're going to get that at any minute. That's another trade, right, that makes too much sense. But he's a guy, I'm just, like Nick mentioned, him losing his voice in the locker room. I just really don't think he's a leader. The stories about him kind of getting butthurt, basically, because everybody liked Nick Foles over him. That's not what you want to see from your quarterback, right? He's supposed to be the alpha. He's supposed to be the owner of the team, right? So I'm just kind of like, Like, he'll be on waivers, and he probably won't be on any of my teams this year, barring him having some freakishly productive year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what we get out of him. As far as like Zach Ertz goes, I think that would be a great landing spot. I took a shot on him in my Scott Fishbowl draft. He was the first tight end that I took. My group is Zach Ertz, Dalton Schultz, and Eric Ebron. So I don't hate it, but I really hope Zach Ertz actually gets traded to Kansas City instead.
Man, you got to have some other position players that are really stacked. Then if you're looking at Eric Ebron, Goddard, and Ertz,
I got
Schultz,
my receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Boyd, Antonio Brown, Cooper Kupp, and I think like the worst of it is like Sammy Watkins and Jalen Guyton. That's like my worst 2 receivers.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, my running backs are Kamara, Robinson, James Conner, Tevin Coleman. Devin
Robinson,
Singletary.
really? You still want Robinson even though ETN's there?
Oh well, I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, I'm a Robinson stan.
I don't get me wrong. I love Robinson, but like he is not going to have the same volume that he did last year, and he could like literally have half.
I disagree, but that's at the back end of the episode, so we'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to it.
Yep.
All right, so next up we got N'Keal Harry, cut, trade, or stay. he requested a trade from the Patriots. I don't see any real value out there, so cut, trade, or stay.
I mean, if someone wants to give up like a 6th round, I heard that that's like what he's going to get, if anything. I hate wide receivers going to New England. Like, unless it's Randy Moss and he has Tom Brady, I really don't like any wide receiver because N'Keal Harry, I saw him in college. He was a beast in almost every way. And how could Bill Belichick not take advantage of what that guy could offer? That's really disappointing. Right now, he just has to find a team and just work his way back up. That's the best way he can go about it because his value has really, really plummeted for sure.
Yeah, so N'Keal Harry, like over the last week or so, when these reports came out, I began looking into him because I remember during the draft, when the Patriots drafted him, he was a guy that a lot of people had as a guy that should be ascending in the NFL and should be really productive. And when you go back and like read the notes and stuff, his big thing in college was he made a lot of contested catches, which is good, that you have that ability. But a lot of it was because he couldn't really get separation from the defensive backs, and that's followed him to the NFL because that works in college when you're better than everybody else on the field, but in the NFL you need to be able to do a lot more, and I think he's getting exposed for that. So I think he was somebody that I think he needs a fresh start. But honestly, like, yeah, 6th, 7th round pick, that's it, because you're trying to see if you can reclaim something here, right? He may not even make it onto a roster if he gets traded, right? He might get cut, so it might even be a conditional pick.
Yeah, I don't think that he is getting traded. I don't think anyone's giving up a 6th or a 7th for him. He hasn't done anything in the NFL. There's no production or a play at the NFL level that says, "Oh yeah, let's go give out some draft equity for this guy." I do think that he gets cut. I think that he's, if anything, if he doesn't get traded, I mean, cuts aren't really that far into training camp, so I think he's on the cutting board for the first round. Some landing places I could see. We've already brought up KC, Atlanta, Seattle. Maybe the Raiders, if they're not liking what they're getting from guys like Willie Snead or some of the lower end guys. I think Seattle would be a good spot for N'Keal Harry. Kind of has like that Josh Gordon type of appeal for me that they might be looking for. But they also did just add Dwayne Eskridge in the draft, so they may stay hands off.
Sure.
All right, next up we've got Kenyon Drake versus Josh Jacobs. Kenyon Drake getting some nice talk in the news, saying that he is going to be, a target hog out of the backfield. He's going to get a lot of catches, a lot of looks from Carr back there. Right now, Josh Jacobs going in at about round 5. Last mock we did, he went at 507. Drake at 1009. Where are you guys at? Do you prefer one over the other? Both? Neither? What do you think?
Jacobs is a beast. I love him. I think he's going to be a mainstay of the Raiders offense for years to come. John Gruden, I mean, he got like 4 or 5 more years left on his contract. He's going to spend every year of that just running the ball with Josh Jacobs. That's his style. With Kenyon Drake coming over, honestly, I'm not worried about that cutting into Jacobs because I feel like Gruden's offense is really run-based. I'm not saying that he's like focused like the Ravens are, but they do really incorporate the run offense, and he does give Josh Jacobs spells. So Kenyon Drake's will have some opportunity, and also in like the third down opportunities where it's 3rd and long. I think that's absolutely a good place for him. So I'm going to prioritize Josh Jacobs, but if Kenyon Drake falls to me, where I feel it's a good value, then I would take him too.
Yeah, for me, Josh, I'm just kind of relying on talent here. Josh Jacobs, he's been pretty productive, right? He can catch the ball, run the ball, scores touchdowns. So I'm going to ride with him. I don't like the addition of Kenyon Drake, right? Anytime you're paying a running back in free agency, he's going to have a role, right? He's just not coming to be a guy. But between the two, I'll go with Jacobs. I don't like Kenyon Drake there. But yeah, Gruden's he's got to do something, man. He's, I think, coming into year 3, and they're not really going anywhere. They're kind of floundering.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, I'm going to stay away from Jacobs at least at that spot in round 5, just because I really like the wide receiver. For the wide receiver ones that I can get in round 5, I feel a lot better about some of those guys. Amari Cooper, who we already brought up, DJ Moore, Robert Woods, or Cooper Kupp, either Rams receiver. Maybe I'd have him ahead of Adam Thielen, but not like Deontay Johnson or even like Tyler Lockett. I think Jamar Chase might be a little expensive right there, but that seems about right for where he's going. So for Jacobs, I would stay away from him in that territory because I'm probably just going to be targeting something else. But if you go wide receiver heavy to start, then that's not a bad way to round out your starting receivers and running backs. If you go receiver, running back, I wouldn't hate that. But that's the route that you're going essentially to grab a guy like that. I don't think that Kenyon Drake necessarily hurts Josh Jacobs' value. I think he will take him off the field every now and again, but Josh Jacobs cleans up on rushing touchdowns, and I don't think that they're going to take those away from him. But Kenyon Drake does finish inside the red zone, so I think you could see like that, 1 to 4 amount of touchdowns. Maybe you get pulled from Jacobs this year. It's not a lot, but in fantasy, touchdown will win you or lose you a week, right? So I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake in the 10th round. Just based on the way that I've been drafting, like some of these late running backs, you're an injury away from a lot of work, from a big uptick in production. Kareem Hunt was that guy last year. I think Drake is in a similar situation. Devin Singletary that we brought up, either one of those running backs for Tampa, Denver, who we'll get to here in a minute. There's just a lot of opportunity with running backs that are going to be less risk adverse for you. And you can go out and target high-end receivers in the earlier rounds that just get that volume year in and year out. But again, wide receiver position is very, very deep. So you gotta be careful with that. Drake is my running back 35 and Jacobs is my running back 19. Some feel that that's a little bit too far back for Jacobs, but guys that I have ahead of him, you're looking at Chris Carson, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, all in the same tier, but ahead of him. You guys agree with that?
I would.
You agree with that, Nick?
Yeah, sorry, I was shaking my head. Yeah.
Cam Akers. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the list. The next set ahead of him, Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Zeke. I mean, that gets us from 19 to 11. So,
yeah, I'm good with all those guys ahead of him.
All right, right on. My laptop is doing something weird. It doesn't want to work. I don't know. Anyways, all right, cool. Let's move on here. We're looking at ADP battle: Javonte Williams versus Trey Sermon, and we're also going to kind of mix in some Raheem Monster or Melvin Gordon here. Looking at rookie running backs, Javonte Williams back up right now to Melvin Gordon in Denver, going at about 6.06, ahead of Gordon, who's going at about 8.12, so maybe not the backup. Trey Sermon's going in round 9. He went in round 9.05 in our most recent mock. Who do you prefer going into their rookie season?
I'm going to
redraft
say
specifically.
Redraft. Javonte Williams. Melvin Gordon talks a big game, and he does have big games, but he doesn't have like huge seasons anymore. He's just kind of like that kind of filler. And even last year, Philip Lindsay was still getting a good amount of the carries until he was hurt. Melvin Gordon did fill in admirably, but there's a reason why they drafted Javonte Williams. I'm going to take Javonte Williams this year. But if Trey Sermon shows up and shows a lot in San Francisco, he could easily supplant Raheem Monster. Not that I don't love Monster, it's just he's hurt a lot of times and his spot's open. So right now I'm going to take Javonte Williams over Trey Sermon, but both are going to be someone to watch for the upcoming years.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so I'll also go with Javonte Williams. They traded up to grab him in the draft and relatively high, I believe, in the second round. Gordon signed a big contract in free agency for a team that's probably going to look to save a little bit of money on that and upgrade the position. I'd see this probably being his last year in Denver. I think for Williams, that's really all he has to worry about, right, is just Melvin Gordon. Trey Sermon, I do like Trey Sermon, but, the Niners are, as always, a really crowded backfield. You have Monster, you have Jeff Wilson, Jermichael Hasty.
Jeff Wilson's on the pup already. Jeff Wilson's on the pup already.
Oh, okay, that's one less guy. That is the one advantage of the Niners, though, is because all the guys they do have, people tend to get hurt, Monster included. Right. So with Sermon, you're kind of hoping for people not to get hurt, but like that's kind of how he's going to get his opportunities. And if he gets those opportunities, he's probably going to eat very well. But I think with Williams, I think you're kind of already seeing it, like you mentioned, he's already going a little bit higher than in some drafts, right, than Gordon. So I think Williams is a good bet, but I think Sermon, he could have a decent year as well if things go his way.
Well, I do agree that Javonte Williams is going to be the guy to own in Denver, but the cost is really high right now, and the hype is really pulled him up draft boards. 606 is too expensive for me for him out of a Denver backfield that he's going to be splitting. Between the two, I'll take Sermon just because I get a little bit better value, and I've been banging the Sermon drum all summer already. I have a handful of shares of him. In one league, I was actually able to get Mostert and Sermon. I feel a little bit better about that. The way I have it broken down here, I've got Javonte Williams at running back 24, Mostert at 31, Sermon at 32, and Gordon at 33. So it's like really, really close. I prioritize Gordon the least out of this group. If I can get Javonte Williams at value, I'll certainly dive in on him, but not in round 6. In round 6, we're looking at guys like Matthew Stafford went in the same round. A lot more assurance there. You're looking at guys like T. Higgins, Tyler Lockett that I mentioned before, Kenny Golladay. I like that a lot more. At least more reliable production because you're still going to have Gordon there unless you get an injury and Javonte Williams gets all the touches. And even then, I don't still think he would. I still think Royce Freeman would get some fair amount of work in the red zone as well. with San Francisco, I just love their run system. I love the Shanahan system. I think Sermon is going to get plenty of opportunity to not just take over the role, but just be the lead back. Raheem Mostert's another guy that is very injury prone. He's only played 16 full games and once in the last 3 seasons. Last season, I think he got up to about 8 total games. Season before that, he was at 16. That was the year that he, carried the team through the NFC Championship game up against the Packers. So I think there is still like that love there for him in San Francisco. They want him to be the guy, but 1, will he stay healthy? And 2, can he hold off Trey Sermon? I don't think so. Sermon's just another one of those late dice rolls that I really like because you're getting him at better value than the high-end value of Javonte Williams that's getting all the hype.
Right now.
I think he's better than Gordon. Mostert, I literally have him 31, 32. Like, flip a coin. It's one or the other. And that it could be that in the earlier weeks. I certainly don't have Trey Sermon set up right now to be starting in a flex position week 1 in any of my leagues, so I feel pretty good about it. Javonte Williams, where you're drafting him, you're starting him week 1, and you're going to get whatever you get out of it. Exactly, yeah. For that real estate, it's going to be tough to back that up unless you're like, well, I'll throw out Naeem Hines or J.D. McKissick week 1 instead, where I got like 10 rounds later. Yeah, you could do that. And heck, those guys may be even in better positions to put up more fantasy points in week 1. So I just think that's a little bit too rich for me. I'm going to go with Sermon over Williams, 3 or 4 rounds later if I can. In some drafts, it may be even closer. So it just depends. Anything to add in there?
No.
All right, cool. Let's move on. We'll be really quick with this one. Irv Smith is getting some love from Clint, the proper Kubiak in Minnesota. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, came out and said, hey, Irv Smith's going to be featured. He's going to be making progressions. He's going to be looking good out there with this group. Whereas Mike Zimmer was just like, yeah, y'all need to back up and stop talking about my tight end. You guys excited? That's all I got. You guys excited for some Irv Smith hype?
No, I mean, it's
no.
just, I mean, it's just, no. I mean, he's like, what, the third option there? He might get some love, but like, it's just a guy. I mean, it's, we'll see.
Around like 13, 12.
They drafted him in the second round a couple.
I'm all in.
Yes. Yeah, they drafted him in the second round a couple years ago. So obviously they see something with him. So, I mean, I figured he'd have a decent role in the offense, right? Like, I mean, he's probably the third target, red zone. He had a decent year last year, no Rudolph, so why not?
Yeah, I'm all in with Irv. I think he's a great dynasty ad. Obviously, he's going to go a little bit earlier than that in some dynasty leagues. So he's got the youth, he's got the opportunity. I don't know why Mike Zimmer wants to hate on him so much, but Clint Kubiak, he's with it. He knows what's going on. You want to add anything there, Nick?
I think you nodded no.
No, you're muted.
Oh, Nick, you're still on mute. You're still, I think, unmuted and unmuted.
Well, rookie. I think that the wide receivers in Minnesota are going to be the big factors. They got Thielen and Jefferson. Smith's just the third option. That's all it is. So got to kind of keep that in mind, even though there's some hype around him.
Yeah, I'm going to make a dollar holler on him late in the draft for sure. I think I've just got 1 share so far, but I'll be getting more. All right, last up here, James Robinson says that he is still going to be featured in this Jacksonville offense, saying he's still going to be the guy. Nick's saying he's not. I'm with it. In this recent mock, he went in round 9. I took him in round 6 of Scott Fishbowl, and that's just because there was a huge run on running backs, and I only had Alvin Kamara, so he was a piece that I wanted. But I've gotten pieces of him elsewhere already. I have multiple shares of him. I've even taken him in Dynasty. If it somehow doesn't work out in Jacksonville, he will get a new home. I mean, guys, just go back and watch the tape. I mean, he's a powerful runner. He takes hits and gives them out just the same. He's a completely different style than ETN that still can be featured in this offense. And Robinson, well, yeah, he may have less total yardage than last season, which was over 1,400 yards. Even if he cuts that in half, I don't
14 games.
On 14 games over 1,400 yards. So he gets an extra game this year. Let's say he only plays in 14 again. I still think that he can get at least 1,200 scrimmage yards, at least. That's where I'm at with it. Maybe he gets less catches to ETN, but I still think that he has a steady diet. I think he is the shield for these young quarterbacks in a new system for Urban Meyer. And again, just go watch some film on the guy. Like, the guy put some hurting on some people. I mean, he's a special young player. I'm still all in on him. Round 9, are you kidding me? People should be ashamed of themselves. That's a ridiculous amount of value. I'd be licking my chops at that. Like I said, I got him in round 6 in the exact same format, so I obviously had to pull him up. But there was a very, very early run on quarterbacks and running backs. I was like the only person to take a wide receiver, I feel, for like the first 3 rounds, and that was Stephon Diggs. I was like my hair was completely blown back on that. So I'll give you guys a stage to poop on some James Robinson. You go right ahead.
I have nothing against James Robinson, the talent. I think that he is a legitimate running back. You do not become a top leading rusher without being a hard worker and actually having some talent in the NFL. So the talent is definitely there. But I don't trust Urban Meyer. And why would you draft a running back when you literally have someone that led the NFL or led all rookies in rushing yards? Why would you draft another running back in round 2 from a very high school? One. Okay, one. Even worse. Yep. Okay, so why would you do that? Like, it's almost like what happened to what's his face? Alfred Morris. Like, it wasn't like they drafted Matt Jones in round 1. They drafted him in round 3, but they were so on Matt Jones when Alfred Morris was the better running back. I feel like that this is one of those situations where he's trying to appease his new quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He went to the big school. If I'm James Robinson, I'm walking around with a chip on my shoulder and I'm smacking everybody's mouth when I'm running the ball because I'd be really insulted with that. And I don't care if it's a new coach or not. I proved myself last year in the NFL, and you're just taking a guy from a big school, someone that you want, and I feel like my skills are not being properly understood and rewarded. I understand the NFL is a tough league, but dang, dude, like literally no job safe. And that's fine. I understand that mentality, no job safe. But man, you got to take that into consideration of, man, this guy just led all rookies with rushing yards. Give him the ball this year and actually help Trevor Lawrence. And you could have literally spent that pick on like another like position of need instead of running back, but you still chose to make that move. So I have nothing against James Robinson, the talent. I just don't trust Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer wants his way. He's coming from college. He's used to being the CEO of the team. He gets the guys that he wants, and he wanted ETN, not James Robinson. So that's how I feel about it. I love James Robinson, but Urban Meyer, he likes to just blow things up. So that's how I feel.
I don't think Urban Meyer knows where Illinois State is, but yeah, I get it.
I agree. I don't think he knows where that's at either, and that's why he went to the big school. But it doesn't matter what school you went to. It's if you can produce on the field. And right now, James Robinson is proving that he can produce on the field with a shitty Jacksonville offense. Like, come on now. He was the best thing of the Jacksonville offense, even with Shark and Minshew doing marble ads, man. Like, he proved himself, and that's how I feel. Like, I don't know. I'm not happy about what happened to Robinson. I remember my jaw dropping when ETN was picked because I was like, I can't believe this.
Yet. I mean, they picked him, but nothing's happened yet. I mean, we still got to see what we're going to get on the field. And in my opinion, I think Robinson is still going to shine. Give me the 1,200 yards and maybe even more.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with it is I still never understood why they took ETN that high. I mean, I think it's just I mean, guys coming off a rookie season, he did all that. Again, if he gets the opportunities, I love it. It's a great value add. It's just there's a lot of unknowns with how this offense is going to be run, right? It's a new offense for everybody, so he should lean on the running backs. And Robinson, he's just not a bruiser, right? He had 50 catches too last year, and again, 14 games. This guy was literally carrying the offense. And the only reason he didn't play in the last 2 is they basically sat him to make sure that they got the first pick and they didn't win. That's really the only reason. He wasn't hurt. So I love the talent. If he gets the opportunities, I'm all about it. So that's going to be something I monitor, closer to training camp and then closer to, the preseason. And we actually get to see the preseason this year, which I think is going to be really, really big for some of these positional battles. You'll get to see a little bit of how they use players and who they aren't using. So if he gets the opportunities, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I have him as my running back 22. So I have him a lot higher than most folks. ETN, for example, I have at running back 30. Again, somebody that I'm not prioritizing that early in my draft because I'm stuck starting that guy weeks 1 through 4. Unless I pop somebody off the waiver wire from somewhere else, you get like the Phillip Lindsay treatment. Someone comes out of nowhere. You really have to manage that, who you're going to be able to, put into your flex and substitute him in and out for if you don't get that booming production that everyone's, expecting and that I'm not. I think that James Robinson's still going to be the guy. ETN will have some high weeks, but there's going to be plenty of lows as well. So I'm staying steady with Robinson. All right, that wraps up News or Snooze. We're just going to go through some of our favorite week 1 picks here, and then we're going to head out, enjoy our Sunday. Emron, do you have any of yours up yet?
I do. So a couple that I like, kind of looking at week one. And again, this is a super early preview, right? We're in July right now. We just started. So a couple of things I like for week one. I'll start off with the where's this one? The Bills at home. They're going to be hosting the Steelers, and they're a 6.5 point favorite at home. I definitely think that the Bills are going to win that game by a touchdown or more. So I like that. I like that play a lot, and that's a number to monitor in my eyes. I think the Steelers, unfortunately, are going to be due for a reality check this year. I think they're going to be here. I don't think it's going to go well for them. I think Buffalo is primed to make a Super Bowl run. The other one I like
+7 first on my list.
I guess we disagree there, man. I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. The Bills defense against that O-line. So I like the Bills there. The other one I'm kind of makes me go, it looks a little bit too good to be true. Is the Niners at the Lions, right? The Niners are 7.5 point underdogs. Seems like good value because I think the Lions. I mean, I don't think they're going to be very good. I think they might be with the Texans the worst team in football this year. You have Jared Goff throwing to Quintez Cephas and St. Brown and Hawkinson. I don't like it. I think that could be a very ugly game for them to start the season. So I love the Niners at a 7.5 point favorite.
All right, right on. So I did have the Steelers at the +7. They start the year typically pretty well. I think they're going to have to throw a lot in that game. So I think give me all of Najee Harris in that game, the young receivers. I think that's going to be a good high-scoring game to start the year. It is in Buffalo. That's the only thing you got to deal with road bet. That's about it. I also have the Panthers at -4. I think that's really good value as well. They're at home with the Jets. Joe Brady is going to be excited to unleash that offense and really move
revenge
the ball around.
Season.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Darnold going up against the Jets. You got a young quarterback in Zach Wilson that you're giving +4 his opening game. Don't like that value at all. So give me the Panthers at -4 at home with the Jets. How about the Chargers? -1 on the road in DC up against the football team. Give me the Chargers. I love that. Their offense is going to be able to go up against a tough defense that they've got there. So I think that's a really good matchup. Win by a field goal or more. I'll absolutely take that for the Chargers. And give me the Bears +7, baby, on the road, Monday Night Football. Give it to me. The kid comes in at halftime, and we keep it close. It's not looking so good through the first half. They bring in Fields, and they don't have to win, but they get it within 7. Give me the Bears. What do you got, Nick?
I got the Ravens. They're favorited by 4 against the Raiders. I think they're going to win by a touchdown. I think that Rashad Bateman's going to provide a different aspect that the Raiders aren't really ready for. And they have a tendency to reach on a lot of draft picks like Damon Arnett, who's the corner. He was a first-round pick, and yet he's barely starting. So I think that the Ravens are going to overwhelm them. I also like the Cowboys to cover 6.5. I think that they're actually going to win by 3. I think that Dak's going to come out gunning. So the money line's +240. The over/under is 51.5. I'm still going to take the over. I think the last time we looked at it was 52.5. So I think that the offense is going to really be cranked up in that game. And then I think that's about it right now. I want to really get closer to the season to see how these lines adjust and what injuries pop up and stuff. But right now, that's what I'm seeing.
All right, sounds good. I'm good with all those picks. So, anything to close it down with before we head out of here, boys?
Hold your Doge and your AMC.
Hold the door. Hold the door. No, just kidding. How about you, Amran?
No, I'm good. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody, take care. Be good. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the upcoming week. Take care. Be good. If you can't be good at it. Later.
See you guys.
Later, guys.